Hail and well met friends! Andang here for a prediction video guessing where we will be going after the Minas Tirith update later this year. And joining me to help me guess where we're going next is Terry
Hi.
and Trish.
Maven,
And
hello.
Maven, yes. Trish, Maven, Maven, Trish. You
Hello.
know.
Oh,
Whatever we're calling you today.
Yeah.
whatever my name is today.
Alright, so anyway, there in the distance is a view of Minas Tirith. If you haven't seen my other preview videos, you might want to check those out if you're curious on the new landscape. But for this video, we're going to be talking about what is next. So here is all of Eastern Gondor, and they just released this map today on beta. And so because of
Yay,
that,
map.
yeah, new map, it's awesome. Um, and it's pretty much exactly what we expected because we already had the crappy map. Um, they did flesh out all of Osgiliath though, and it looks pretty messy, like we thought it would.
Yeah, it looks about
Looks
how I expected. Yeah,
about right from
it's
down
pretty
below.
awful.
But the main
Australia's a
thing
mess.
that exactly the main thing we're going to be talking about is the fact that there's three different places on this map. There's to northern Gondor, there's to southern Gondor, and there's also to Morgul Vale. And the reason that this is interesting is if we look on the previous maps, they've only had two places that we've already been, or to the next place we're going to go, at least in Gondor, that's what they've been doing. They haven't had these other places. And so that suggests, and obviously it suggests, it doesn't confirm or anything, that we might be going to all three of those places after Minas Tirith, or maybe in conjunction with the Minas Tirith update later this year. So this is our chance to predict kind of what we want to see with LOTRO and what we think is kind of feasible of where they're going to go. So first of all, we already know Minas Tirith is going to be coming later this year. My first question is, do you think that we'll get any other parts of Gondor with that update, or if it's just going to be Minas Tirith? And Terry, what do you think?
It's kind of interesting because since the map says to southern Gondor,
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of wondering if we'll see more landscape there. Because I can't imagine why they would say to southern Gondor and then just have a single city.
Yeah, yeah. That would not make too much sense. I'm actually guessing northern Gondor.
Is it northern
because
Gondor?
because that's actually closer to Minas Tirith, because southern Gondor is actually
More.
not wouldn't be connected with Minas Tirith, but if they added in northern Gondor,
Well, so I don't know my
it's
geography.
possible that it'd be connected with Minas Tirith, and so I mean, but either way, you think that they're going to add another part of Gondor with that update. Trish, what do you think?
Well, first let me just ask. So what we're looking at now, Eastern Gondor map.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to be a release prior to the Minas Tirith release?
Right, yeah, we won't be getting Minas
Okay.
Tirith until later this year, and so this map
Okay.
is the map we'll be getting with update 16. So
Okay.
basically, the big thing in this update is going to be Osgiliath. Um,
Okay.
all they've said so far is that we're going to get Minas Tirith later in the year. They didn't say if there's going to be anything
Right.
included with it or not. So what do you think?
I it's hard to say, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of leveraging off of what Chris Pearson, the various moans and groans that Chris Pearson shared at Mythmoot in January, because it's only he and I think it's only he and one other guy right now that are doing the world building,
Mm-hmm.
and so whenever he would talk about Minas Tirith, it was like a big deal. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like I got the impression it was like a major thing for them. So I'm thinking we probably won't see. I mean, I have a feeling Minas Tirith is going to be pretty awesome
Mm-hmm.
and you know detailed, all those layers and stuff. But I'm not thinking we're going to see much else besides Minas Tirith.
Yeah. I think that there's going to be a chance that we'll see part of northern Gondor there. And then once they introduce like that part, then we'll be going maybe south or somewhere else after that. Um,
Now,
and
when you say see, we're talking about actually going and doing quests in the area, right? Not just
right,
see like standing on the wall and looking out.
right, yeah. Because it'd be
Okay.
very easy to stand on the wall of Minas Tirith and see northern Gondor. But
There it is.
there's northern
That's what
Gondor,
I thought.
guys. There
Yeah.
you go. That being said, they did say that with this Minas Tirith at the end of 2015, that it's not going to include the battle. That's not until early 2016. And so I'm
Okay.
thinking whenever they add in that battle in early 2016 is probably the most likely chance that we'll get a little bit more Gondor just kind of right before or right after that battle happens.
Yeah.
Um, and so, that's kind of how I see the next update or two going. Um, but then we go on to Mordor at some point. They've already suggested that we're probably going to be going to Mordor and seeing various things. How do we enter Mordor? Is it going to be from northern Gondor coming down around the area of the Black Gate? Is it going to be from southern Mordor? Is it going to be from southern Gondor where we go and help different slaves and things escape that's mentioned in the books? Or are we going to go through Minas Morgul and the Morgul Vale and enter
I
Mordor that way?
I think that's the way we're going to go. I think we're going to go through the Morgul Vale.
Yeah.
Okay. You agree,
Do
Terry?
you think so too?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I actually kind of think that we're going to go to the other Gondor that we haven't gotten yet and then go in a different way. Or they're going to have multiple entrances into Mordor. I think we're definitely still going
That's
to see
possible.
Minas
Yeah.
Morgul, but I'd imagine they'd want to explore other parts of Mordor before they go to Mount Doom because, like, once you go there, you kind of have to destroy the ring at that point. Um, and so, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they actually go into that. I mean, it's possible on this map that they could be planning like way ahead, and we might not see Southern Gondor until we go and follow Aragorn down to Harad and do all that stuff that happens at the end of Return of the King. Um, it'll be interesting to see.
It would be fun to go beat up on those guys.
It would be. Um,
I just think there's more stuff to be done, frankly, if we go through the Morgul Vale. I mean, there's the whole Vale itself.
hmm
There's Cirith Ungol. There's the whole pass through where Shalab is. And then there's a huge amount of distance between that and Mount Doom. I mean, there's a lot of land there, plenty of quest territory, And who knows? I mean, they'll probably add like little orc villages and stuff.
Yeah, probably. All right, Pineleaf, you came in the the episode late. Um, I can't hear you, so I'm assuming that you're
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Um,
There he is.
I was waiting for you to finish your sentence.
Yep. So I was just
He's a
making sure that you were
gentleman.
actually loaded in before I addressed you. But anyway, we'd already been talking about predictions of where we're going to go to next after Minas Tirith is introduced, and possibly maybe even having landscape with Minas Tirith. And the whole reason why has come into question is because they just released the Eastern Gondor official map, and previous places of Gondor only go to like one other place, so it's just like, Western or Eastern Gondor, places that we're definitely going to go to. Interesting thing about the Eastern Gondor map is it says to Northern Gondor, to Morgul Vale, and to Southern Gondor, which are three places we have not been yet. So, where do you think, first of all, that before we go into Mordor, we're going to go to one of those other parts of Gondor?
All right, you said Southern Gondor?
Southern Gondor, Northern Gondor, and Morgul Vale, which would be, north of Minas Tirith, south of Minas Tirith towards Harad, and then into Mordor.
Well, I would say the most likely of the three would be Northern Gondor, simply because that's the area where the Rohirrim will be coming from.
Mm. Yeah.
And for us to go into the Morgul... Now, actually, the question is, actually, if it's immediately after... Actually, if the next place is immediately after Pelennor, then, of course, that changes the thing. The question is whether we'll be going up there before or after Pelennor.
Right. Well, they've said that the next update is going to have Minas Tirith, but it's not going to have the
Right,
battle. That's
Pelennor
not till
Field.
2016. So it's
Right.
possible that we
So I
could go
was...
into Northern Gondor and see Rohan come before the actual battle at Pelennor takes place.
And that actually would be consistent with some of the predictions for Galadriel, because some of them take place, assume that you're going to be at certain events that happen on the Rohirrim side of the Pelennor Fields battle.
Hmm. So Northern Gondor is looking pretty likely. Um, and it might end up either with the Pelennor update in early 2016 or just with the Minas Tirith update in
Yeah.
2015. It'll be
Because
interesting to
whatever it
see.
is, we cannot go into the Morgul Vale before the Battle of Pelennor Fields, simply because it's too close to the time when Frodo is going through there.
Right. I mean, there might be a session play where we see it, but I don't think
Well,
our
yeah,
actual
we might see
characters
it,
will.
through the
Yeah.
session play, but we know that Frodo goes through there at the same time that the Witch King leaves Minas Morgul in order to start
Right.
his siege on Gondor.
Okay. So, assuming that's the case, and we do add in, Northern Gondor with, the Rohirrim coming and all that stuff, where do you think we're going to enter Mordor? Because there's still, by that point, we'd be on three sides. We'd be Eastern Gondor, potentially Southern Gondor, and also Northern Gondor. So, how will we enter Mordor? Will we go in through the south, through the Morgul Vale, or through Northern Gondor up by the Black Gate and all that stuff?
You know the point where the captains have their debate and start to march their army up towards the Black Gate?
Mm-hmm.
While they're doing that, we are sent on a mission into the Morgul Vale.
Okay. I can definitely see that. And so, assuming that we go in, because Trish and Terry all said that we're going to go, they're guessing we're going to go through Minas Morgul first. Do you think that we will just go straight to Mount Doom and Mordor and that'll be the end? Or are we going to explore around other parts of Mordor?
I think we're going to have to mop up. I think they're going to send us around to mop up.
Yeah. In fact, I would be surprised if we actually ever make it to Mount Doom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that's
Well-
the case, we could have several updates just in Mordor. There
Well,
could be a
we're
whole
going
year
to
of Mordor.
I think that we are going at some point, I don't know how long after the whole thing, but we are going to be sent on a mission to free the slaves at the one fertile place in Mordor that there is.
Right, which is in the south, right?
Right. But whether or not we go by Mount Doom first or anything well, Mount Doom would probably be not a very comfortable place to go because it would probably be in this real nasty mood
So if you're going to
still.
go to Mount Doom, you have to go there before the ring is destroyed. Presumably, or the area around Mount Doom.
Or
You'd have
give
to
it a
go.
couple of years for the
Or give it a couple of years. Okay.
I
Yeah,
also-
I would be very surprised if we ever actually get to Mount Doom.
Yeah.
I think we might. Because if I remember right, there was a mention, some off mention that Chris Pearson made about that, but I could be totally wrong. But I'd like to
Well,
see Mount Doom.
we might see it from afar and then have a session play.
Right. Yeah.
Well, there's the question is, what do you mean by at Mount Doom? Because there's
Well,
mountains tend to be
Be
rather
in
large.
sight of Mount Doom.
Well, because there's a big difference between being at the cracks of Doom and being on the edges of the mountain. That could be 10 miles difference.
Yeah, being within a reasonable distance to see Barad-dûr and the Mount Doom.
Well, and I would say the cracks of Doom. I mean, are we going to actually be at the cracks of Doom?
Yeah.
Cracks of Doom right now are after Frodo throws in that we can't be there before Frodo because that would
No.
just be too hard to believe. After Frodo, well, we'll see it in session play, of course.
Yeah,
But
that's what I think we'll do.
after Frodo throws the ring, the cracks of Doom, I think, are going to be pretty much destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be session play, but we'll see what's left of Mount Doom from afar. But I'm betting, in the vacuum that Sauron leaves behind, there's going to be all kinds of power struggles and petty wars among the orcs and Uruk-hai and whatnot, and we'll have to be cleaning all that up for Aragorn.
Well, that and plus Aragorn goes in to make sure that Sauron is not
Right.
around anymore. And
That's right.
so there's definitely going to be that as well after the fact. Okay, so the only thing I think we haven't discussed yet is, are we going to go to Southern Gondor before we go into Mordor? Or is that going to be not until we go down to Harad and do all that stuff?
Say that again. Are we going to go into southern before we go into north? Is that what you said?
Are we going to go to southern Gondor before we go into Mordor? Because so far it seems like you all have said that we're going to go into Morgul Vale and northern Gondor. But we haven't talked at all really about southern Gondor, which it leads to Harad. So is that going to happen? Do you think that that'll happen before we go into Mordor, or is that just going to be the way to Harad after Mordor is destroyed and Aragorn goes down there and does all sorts of stuff?
My thinking is that we are going to go down there during the time between the coronation and the wedding, because there's going to be quite a bit of time being waiting there. So what are we going to do? Twiddle our thumbs and do nothing? No, we're going to be sent into southern Gondor and Harad in order to take care of some threats that are down there.
Okay.
And the other reason I don't think we're going to go into Mordor through southern Gondor is because the Haradrim actually come up through Ithilien to get into Mordor through the gate.
Right. Yep. So that's a pretty good point.
That, because I actually just read that not too long ago in the book, so that actually leads me to believe that there's not another way into Mordor except for, Morgul Vale or through the gate.
Well, on the far right side, there's the back way in, but
there could be another way, but it's not convenient for an army to go through. But so there aren't any more obvious ones or anything like this, and none others that an army could utilize.
Okay. Well,
but Turbine might come up with another one somehow.
Yeah. So that kind of gives an idea about, all of Mordor and stuff like that. Crazy, wild speculation. What are places that you guys want to see? Obviously, Scouring the Shire is one of them. But aside from that, what else do you want to see before LOTRO ends, or a sequel happens, or, something else?
I want to go to Umbar and root out those people.
Yeah?
Go stomp on the heirs and make sure they're all, not going to cause any more trouble.
I want to help Eowyn and Faramir get settled in Osgiliath.
That's very specific. Okay. Finally, what do you want to do?
Hey, we have got to. I think what they need is a good king for Umbar, and I was thinking Jax might be the perfect person.
There's a kidmate who keeps telling me that Jax is going to turn out to be like the heir of Castamere, and he's been helping us all this time because he's trying to get rid of the competition.
How crazy of a plot line would that be?
I know.
We're there. We go to the Aragorn coronation, and then we hide the invitation of the one to Jax in our pockets and go there later.
I could totally set up Jax as the king of Umbar because he just wants to sit around and drink all day. So I'm good with that.
Yeah. That's possible. For myself, you guys have taken a lot of good ones. I kind of just want to see most of the places we've already gone and see what happened now that Mordor's destroyed, just very briefly, kind of going through and seeing the different situations. Obviously, Scouring the Shire is really cool. One thing they haven't done is shown the rest of Mirkwood.
Yeah, the rest
and
of
there's
Mirkwood
still
would be awesome
that
too.
whole elf assault that's going on. And so we'd kind of have to see, what happens there.
Clean out Dol Guldur.
Mm-hmm. And that would be an interesting little plot line, I would imagine. So there's a lot of places that have
Yeah,
still...
it's true. We could just go back over the rest of the game and just mop up. We could have a lot of mopping up to do.
But I don't know how long players would be willing to do that. The mass majority of players willing to do that. I think for a while, but I think it might turn into the extended edition of LOTRO. Where it's it just it never ends after the ring's destroyed.
I'm hoping we can. I asked Chris about the idea of, I said there's this one tantalizing sentence, at the end of Return of the King that they continued to, fight and go south and whatnot. And he said, you never know. But, I think that's going to be if LOTRO continues.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's a pretty
let's
big
look
investment.
at the plan for the rest of what we know so far. We know that the game, first of all, we know the game is set to be renewed in 2017. So presumably near the end of 2017, they're still good to go. They've already said that the end of this year they're going to introduce Minas Tirith. Beginning of next year is going to be the actual battle at Minas Tirith. So presumably that adds in at least northern Gondor. Then through the rest of 2016, Mordor, maybe into early 2017, maybe. And have everything, finally finish up at the early 2017, and then Scouring of the Shire end of 2017, plus other places that they're wanting to mop up. That's a pretty tight little schedule there, though. If they're wanting to go that quickly.
And then at the end of 2017, poof. Right?
Possibly.
No. No.
Hopefully not, but it's
Hopefully
possible.
not.
Hopefully they'll be able to do something like they did with Asheron's Call, if that does happen, and allow the player base to actually run their own servers still. That would be really
Nice.
cool. Or even better, make a solo client for players to use. Although that'd probably require a little bit more work on their part. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting next couple of years. That's kind of our prediction so far. Does anyone else have any other wild predictions they want to make and embarrass themselves?
I don't want to go on record with anything else. Yeah, that's right. I don't know if I'm on record with this stuff.
All
I
right,
think
well,
we'll remind you of them in 10 years or something like that.
probably.
I know.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this preview video. Let us know in the comments below what you think we'll be doing next, and if we're totally wrong or if we're totally right. But till the next news comes out, this is Andang, and you've been watching a preview video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button below. And if you'd like to see more of my daily content, feel free to subscribe, and you'll be notified when that new content comes out. And also, if you'd like to help support my channel and help me continue to create high quality videos, feel free to support me on Patreon, and you can get all sorts of great rewards in the process. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon for another video.